welcome here to Abundance Coaching TV. My name is Scott Epp, and I'm the host of Abundance Coaching TV, where our goal at Abundance Coaching TV is to give you value and to bring on exciting guests that share our passion. And our passion is to help you connect with your authentic, amazing self so that you can live with passion and have abundance in life. And this entire season is all about helping you get unstuck from anything so that you can live your life purpose with passion and abundance. So I have hand selected our guest for our episode today. His name is Stephan Wiedner, and he's actually the co-founder of a company called Numi. And Numi is a global company that essentially is a directory for coaches. So any life coach or business coach or any type of coach really can get on this directory and be found essentially in the entire world, and they get incredible hits. I know because I've actually been on it for a long time, and I'm a great supporter. I've got a lot of clients through it. In fact, you didn't know this, Stefan, but I have a brand new client I got yesterday from your service. So there you go.
Well, thanks for sharing, Scott. That's awesome.
Yeah, you
That's what
bet.
we're here for.
You bet. Cool.
Yeah.
So in our episode today, Stefan, we're going to talk about how the audience can find an abundance of time and energy in their life. And really, our episode title is How to Have an Abundance of Time and Energy in Your Life. So, welcome to our show, first of all, Stefan. It's good to have you here.
Scott, it's great to be here. So thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, you bet. Awesome. So, the first question I just wanted to start off with is just the simple question of, what is passion in the first place? What is passion to you?
Well, passion is pursuing that which really, I think, fuels your heart and your mind. It really calls you forward. It's what fills you with a lot of excitement and joy.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. So, like, as far as the passion for life or the passion for living and stuff like that, like, where does that come into place? Like, how do you know that you're passionate about your life?
Well, maybe I'll reframe that question a little bit because at a high level, I believe in this concept of following your passion, but I would throw a word of caution out there because I think a lot of people try to follow their passion and they get hung up. And I think mainly they get hung up, especially when you're younger and you don't have a whole lot of life experience. And you maybe go down one path a little while, and then you realize, maybe this is pretty hard and not very. I'm not getting a whole lot of success, and maybe this isn't my passion anymore, right? So you can kind of lose some steam or some fuel for what it is that you're going after, and perhaps the other way to look at life, and especially when it comes to getting an abundance of time and energy,
Right.
is to look instead of like what you're truly passionate about, asking yourself what skills can you develop that you can become a real expert at or a real master at, so that you can take that skill out into the world and command a decent pay. So it has to be something that the world at large truly values, and that will give you more time and energy. I see every day I talk to a lot of coaches who are
Hmm.
pursuing that which they're passionate about, which is coaching, but they're not necessarily, they haven't fully understood how to market themselves, and so they're
Right.
not making a tremendous living at that which they're truly passionate about. And as a result, I think their happiness and their joy in life truly suffers. And that's sad, and I don't want that to happen for a
Yeah.
lot of people. But I think it does happen because we're pursuing our passion, and maybe instead, like I said, the focus should be on being really good at what you do, or that skill that you have that is universally appealing or valuable to society.
Right. That's amazing. That's so, and we didn't talk about this before, but you're so in alignment with what I believe too. My slogan, it has been on our website, live with passion and have abundance in life. It'll stay that as well. But I agree with you in the fact that so many people choose to follow, and they have this relentless pursuit on the focus of living with passion. But I like to change the question instead of like, how do you live with passion? How do you live your life purpose? I think is a better question to ask. So, and
Hmm.
that seems to fall in alignment with what you're saying.
Yeah, because perhaps purpose is a little more encompassing or broadly encompassing. You look at the whole world and what's needed out there, and how can you serve other people, and what hole can you fill, basically.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely more outward centered as well.
Yeah.
Certainly. Excellent. Very cool. So I want to ask you about your story. Tell me about your journey. Like, where did you start?
Hmm. Well, let's see. How far back do you want to go? How much time do we have? Uh, so my professional career, yes, I'm a coach. I'm the co-founder of newme.com. Been working at this for 6 or 7 years. Before that, I started my career coming out of university in a completely different field. So I was in the construction management field, and I was working with a small little company based out of Canada, Vancouver, Canada, and we were working on really large construction projects. And we were often brought on early on in the project when either the owner or the general contractor needed someone to help them manage the time on the project.
Yeah.
So they would bring us in. We would create a schedule that would help the owner or the general contractor understand the broad timeline and how quickly they could finish this project. And then that was sort of at the height of my career in that position or in that role. I was working on $100 million hospital that was being built in Carson City, Nevada.
Wow.
And through that job, yeah, it was really cool. There was about 50 different
Cool.
subcontractors on the project, and I was responsible for communicating with all of those different subcontractors. There's a really tight 17-month schedule for the whole project, and I needed to make sure that that happened, and coordinating all those different subcontractors, making sure that they weren't getting in each other's way, and that they were communicating with one another. That was primarily my responsibility. But what I discovered is that there was something more that I was searching for. And even though I was at, I would call it a bit of a pinnacle in my career there, um, I was kind of ambivalent about showing up to work every day, and so I was wanting to work with people a little bit more, and I was always interested in psychology, and so then I took a little bit of time off, and I discovered coaching, got trained, um, sort of jumped in wholeheartedly, and
Yeah.
really learned as much as I could about coaching. And then I started to switch my hats and started to put on my marketing hat. Okay, well, I love this whole thing called coaching. I love helping people find their passion, what they're really interested in, what they love doing. And then I serendipitously met up with my business partner Kurt. So we'd been friends for many years, but he was off in the UK actually, and had just completed his MBA at Cambridge. And then a friend of mine, a mutual friend of ours, went and visited him, and then came back to Vancouver and said, "Hey, you should talk to Kurt. He's doing this e-coaching thing." And I said, "Oh, that's weird. Okay, what's that?" And he was writing a business plan for an online coaching business. And so we got talking, and we said, "Hey, we got to work together." So we came up with an innovative idea. We want to take this concept of coaching and put it on the web and make it as available as possible to as
Yeah.
many people as possible,
Right
right?
on.
And we thought, okay, well, people are going to want to take this concept of coaching and replace the coach with the computer. And we thought, nah, there's no way we're going to do that. I mean, you can't replace. There's there's certain things that humans do really well, and there's certain things that computers do really well. And coaching is one thing that humans do really well. So so what we so our innovation was we created a website called, at the time it was called paircoach.com. And so we thought, let's bring any two people, stick them together, and they're going to coach each other. So it's kind of like a gym buddy for your whole life.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was our original business that we brought to the world. And we launched in 2008, got a lot of press, and it was really exciting times. But the website had a lot of bugs, and we didn't quite have the stickiness factor that kept people there, and we didn't have too much of a revenue model. It was at the time where we were thinking, oh man, we'll just get 1 million eyeballs, and then we'll sell it for $20 million, and we'll be rich and famous.
The exit strategy plan.
Yeah, it was like the exit strategy that wasn't wasn't pinned on fundamental like business metrics.
Yeah.
So in other words, when it came to business, we made a lot of mistakes, and I suppose we're probably still making mistakes every day, but we're learning from them, so that's okay.
Yeah.
And so, but then we pivoted. So we had this online tool. Any two people could coach each other. We thought, well, let's sell this to coaches. Let's turn it into a one-to-many model, and coaches can use it to manage their clients online, all of their client information. But furthermore, it could be a place for coaches to get clients, because we had these people that were coaching each other kind of stumbling along, right? And the natural thought is, okay, well, I'm getting value here, but maybe I'll spend a little bit of money and get even more value by hiring a professional, someone who's trained
Right.
to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that that led us to our next big pivot, which is to we talked to all our coaches, and they said, well, tell me more about the getting clients thing, because I'm not so interested in the client management piece. And
Yeah.
that's where we are today. So we solved that problem. We thought, okay, well, how are we going to do that? We've created Numi.com. We've got thousands of coaches. We're in 50 plus countries, predominantly English speaking countries like Canada, United States, Australia, the UK, and South Africa. But then we have coaches in other places as well, India, so on and so forth. So that's where I am today.
Man, that is such an awesome story. I'd like to
Yeah.
bring you back just to that point when you're working in this big, huge company. I'd assume just from what you're describing that it was a pretty well paid job. And I find that like a lot of people are at that point, and people that I coach, and maybe people that you coach, they're at this point where they're just like, man, I'm making so much money, but there's something that just like isn't striking me. And is it um, the question that they ask themselves is, should I push through and persevere, or is this really not my calling, or is this really something that I could take a change in? And usually, what I find is that there's fear in that change. So, what helped you get through that fear or whatever you're feeling, and what was that feeling like? Can you describe it more?
Yeah, great question, Scott. I was so my dad was a is a jeweler, and so that's how he made his money. He came to uh, first. I'm a first generation Canadian, so he came from Europe. The classic story, right? No money in his pockets, and he made a life and a living for himself and his family, all by making jewelry, and had a jewelry store. So he was selling jewelry. And he always told me growing up, son, you got to have a trade. You got to have something that you can fall back on and always make a living for yourself.
Yeah.
And so I had developed, so within this realm of construction management, there's this one small, tiny little segment, which is scheduling. And I developed a lot of competency and a lot of skill in that small little segment, which makes me pretty much employable. I could pretty much walk onto any large construction project and be of value and be of service. And so that was my fallback. That was my safety net, if you will. That and a
Yeah.
runway, like some money in the bank, which gave me the opportunity to try something else.
Yeah.
Um, and in fact, I kind of severed my ties there. Like I sort of quit that one big project and wasn't doing any work for a little period of time there, where I was just building up my own coaching business. But then it got to the point where, oh crap, I need to make a few more bucks. So then I picked up a side project. I went back to my old employer and said, hey, can I work on a small project? I need some income for the next 6 to 8 months, kind of thing. And so I was doing some moonlighting. So I think having that kind of safety net is really valuable, and it comes back to that first point I made, which was, following your passion is important, and that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
But also, having some sort of mastery or some sort of skill set that is valuable, and people need it and are willing to pay for it, is also really valuable. And I guess at that time I had both, and that was why I was able to pursue Numi more full on.
Awesome, cool. And I just want to take this opportunity just for the audience here to have you pause there and take that in for yourself, because that was so brilliant what you're just sharing, because it was the acquisition of skills and knowing that you had that skill to fall back on, and also knowing that it wasn't full on your passion, but you weren't willing to just say, okay, I'm dropping everything. You're willing to actually moonlight. So perhaps as you're following your passion, I'm speaking to the audience now, as you're following your passion, you could take this coaching that Steven's just offering right now, to consider, where your skills are and where you could moonlight, for instance, or where you could, follow your passions in a way that you could also, you know, create that runway, as you mentioned. That's great.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
about runway management, really. Like,
Yeah.
how long is your runway? And yeah, I have a client, for example, right now, and his runway is pretty short, so he's got a lot of pressure because he doesn't want to dip into any of his savings. But I also know, like, I know when I'm coaching him, I can push him a little harder because he's got a little bit of a safety net. I don't want him to dig into it either, right? But
Yeah.
I want him to make the right choices that are the best for his long-term strategy and his long-term success, right? Because I don't want him just focusing on like small little things that are going to generate income right now.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
not forget the long view here, folks. Like, that's sort of a message that I bring to that one individual client anyway.
That's great. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
a little bit later on, I want to give the audience an opportunity to find out more about what type of coaching you do and how they can connect with you too. So, but before we get into that, you talked a lot about like time management, and in our episode, I promised the guests that we're going to talk about having an abundance of time and energy. And I define abundance like this, Stefan. It's completely absorbing and believing that you were created as more than enough, that you have more than enough today, and that more than enough is coming to you in the future. It's those three encompassing. And when we think about time, right, and more than enough of time, right, that's not an easy concept for many people to actually get their heads wrapped around. But if you're to buy into my ideal of what abundance is, and then you put the word time with it, having an abundance of time, how would you describe how people would achieve that?
Hmm. Great question. I would say, well, first of all, there's a little known law. This is what I learned in my construction management days, right? When I was managing large projects. It's called Parkinson's Law. And that means that work fills up based on how much time is given. So if you give someone 2 months, they're going to take 2 months. If you give them 2 days, they'll take 2 days, right? So there is a requirement to, I guess, manage your time. You want to use your time as effectively as possible, especially when you're pursuing your goals. But I think something that's largely overlooked is that second piece in the title, which is about abundance of time and energy, right?
Yes.
So I want people to have a lot of energy, and it's one thing to just like work hard, 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 get lots of stuff done, lots of stuff done. But are you doing the right things? Are you doing the smart things that are going to ultimately lead to you fully absorbing, like you say, this concept of the world being able to provide for you, and gaining that abundance of time and energy now and also into the future. And I think you want to be using your time now in the short term to be building up towards that future of abundance. Does that make sense, Scott?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure.
And so where I see a lot of my clients struggling is that they really focus on the time piece, but not on the energy
Oh
piece.
yeah.
And I think you can have a lot more energy in the short term. I'll give you an example. I had this one client, and she's a mother, so she had two kids. She was a writer, so she was putting together a novel, but then she was also doing moonlighting, so she's writing some freelance gigs, doing some freelance stuff on the side, right, to pay the
Sure.
bills.
Yeah.
And she always had, I remember in one of the very first coaching sessions, I asked her about her task list, her to-do list, and what was on it. And she goes, well, which one? She had one for her freelance work, one for her novel, one for her household, one for her kids, one for her husband, etc. She had so many to-do lists, and she was really organized. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
She had so many things to do, the system for managing it, but at the end of the day, she never felt like she was satisfied. She never
Mm.
had that moment of, ah, yes, I had a
Yeah.
good day today. And
Yeah.
here's why. I think because her focus was always on those tasks.
Yeah.
And when you have 150 things on your list, if you knock off 10 of them, all you see is 110, or you still see many items still on that list.
Yeah.
So over time, I really try to work with my clients to train them to knock off smaller chunks every day. So I ask them, okay, today, what 5 things are you going to do?
Right.
Only 5 things. And then, so let's say they finish those 5 things and think, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to do 3 more things. That's where I got to stop them. I got to say, no, you can't do those 3 more things. If you finish these 5 things, that's it. Your day is done. Go take a break. And when I try to frame it in that way, and I ask my clients, okay, if you could just do these 5 things, what would that feel like? And they go, oh, that'd
Oh,
be awesome.
yeah.
And then if you could really relax in the evening, what might you do? Oh, I would just have a bath and I would just relax and just totally
Awesome.
chill out, right?
Awesome.
Soak it in. But they never do that. And so then when I start to work with them and say, okay, so today what 5 things are you going to do? And I don't want them to pick, 5 things that they can tick off in 5 minutes, right? It's
Yeah.
actually going to consume their
Do
focus and
things.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to complete things. They're going to do things that matter. And I want them to do the things that are the most important, and even maybe those things that are most challenging, so that when they get to that end of the day, when they've completed those 5 things, they can celebrate it and go, yes, I'm done.
Right
Go
on.
relax, go for a walk, spend time with the kids, and be present for them without that niggling, thought in the back of their head. Oh, I got to respond to that email, or I got to do that, whatever.
Yeah.
You're never gonna check off everything on your to-do list.
No.
Never.
No, never, never. You know what? I wasn't going to plan to do this, but I got to show you something because it's right in alignment. You'll love this. I'm going to try something a little bit creative here, see if you can see it.
Okay, yeah, you got a
All
whiteboard
right,
there.
so I got a whiteboard, right? I got one of these flippy whiteboards. So I normally have it on this other side. So this was
Oh, you're gonna have
flip,
to
flip
spin it
it the
around.
other way. All right. Oh, I'm gonna
Oh,
have to actually
you got
turn
to
it.
turn it. Yeah, you got to turn it.
Actually, I'm not gonna edit that part out. That was too funny.
Yeah, that was really funny. It reminds me of a buddy of mine
Try.
once. We were walking in the forest, and then there was a little decal, the orange decals that are on trees to mark the trail, and it was
Yeah.
way up in the tree. And I said, "Gee, man, I wonder how it got way up there." And he said, "Well, obviously the tree grows up, like a like a vine." I'm like, "No, it doesn't, you fool!" And then he realized the folly of his thought there. Like, you're right. It was probably put up there in the middle of winter when there was 12 feet of snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so you're just talking about exactly that. So this is part of what I do. So in my studio, we just moved to Australia. So being here, I had to set up my office. So the office is pretty much done. But this is what I do. Maybe this is helpful for the audience too. So I actually wrote down all the things that I'd love to do. However, I actually insert things that are the hard things that I really don't want to do close to the top. And then I put in things that are like, I really want to do this, like exciting things in there too. And just like you said, this is yesterday. I didn't get every check mark done, and they started off with like hanging up certificates. That was a fun thing. I could look. But what did I have to do before that? I had to clean up my office.
Yeah.
Clean up the
Don't
desk,
want to do
right?
that one. Yeah.
It's like okay, but hanging up the certificates, oh, that was kind of fun. Organize where they were and stuff. Setting up my Dynadog, that's kind of like just a technology thing to hook up multiple computers. That was kind of fun too, you know. And setting up my TV that you just saw for our interview, I was setting up for our interview here, and yeah. So then moving around discs, putting up curtains, not as much fun. Checking emails, kind of all right. You know what I mean? So anyway, I thought I'd show you that um, because I find that it's helpful, and maybe you could comment on this. Um, when people put up their to-do lists, they often just like, here's all the things, but mix in that fun thing or the thing, that you think will, get energy from in the
Hmm.
midst of it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good point. And I think the thing. I don't want my clients ever to forget is the reward.
Yeah.
We want to be intrinsically motivated, right? Like, oh, I'm just so motivated to, build my business and impact the lives of so many people, etc. But you know what? A latte at the end of the day is going to be pretty awesome, or, or maybe it's a bath, or maybe it's a 20-minute walk with your dog, or whatever it is, whatever
Yeah.
that thing that really gets you excited. For you, it's hanging your curtains.
Yeah. Yeah. That was actually the non-exciting one.
Okay, okay. All right,
Setting up
setting
my
up
TV, that was
computers.
fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's fun for you. For others, that's like I'd rather put pins in my eyes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so let's get into some of the other stuff that we were talking about a little bit earlier. I'm gonna actually ask a question direct from your list here of questions. Why do you put such an emphasis on developing rigorous accountability with your clients?
Yeah, good question. So I think first I want to conclude who my clients are, who
Yeah,
my
done.
ideal clients are. I obviously don't work with everybody, right? So I mainly work with solo entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. So these are people who are working at home. They know what they want to do. They want to build up their business. They've got a vision for that, and they just want to execute. They want to be more productive with their time. And the big challenge that they face is because they work from home, they don't have a formal reporting structure, right? They don't report to the board of directors. They don't have a CEO that they report to, or a manager, et cetera. So these people are intrinsically motivated. These people are not like slouches. They know how to get stuff done, but they can be more productive with their time. I think most people can relate to frittering an hour or two away on Twitter or ESPN, or
Yeah.
whatever social network there is, or doing stuff that's just not very productive. And sometimes, especially when it comes to doing the difficult thing in your business, like sometimes building your business requires you to get out the door and call up clients, or something like that. And that may not be your sweet spot. That may not be the thing that you
Yeah.
love to do,
Yeah.
but it's the thing that's going to bring home the bacon. So
Yeah.
I put a lot of focus on accountability because that's what my clients want. They know they can be more productive. They know they can be more effective with their time, and they want to work not just harder, but they want to work smarter.
Yeah. That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah.
So, as far as the accountability, what structures do you usually use that you find really work for accountability, and what are one or two tips that somebody could use that's watching here in the audience? I'm sure that they're interested in hearing a tip from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, I create a daily system for my clients. So the way it works is I send them an email every day, and I ask them a few simple questions. Those questions we work together, and they change over time, because I want to gain a lot of information about my clients, like their thought patterns and what's going on in their minds. But the main thing I ask is, what did you accomplish yesterday, and what went well? So that's a really significant piece. I mean, it seems kind of trivial, but it's really important. It gets my clients to really think about
Yeah.
what they did accomplish. What are they proud of? And then the second piece to that is, well, what do you need to accomplish today, or what do you need to accomplish tomorrow? What are the highest priority items? Those are the types of things I want to know. And then I also ask other questions in and around their mindset. So generally, each week when we have a coaching session, I'll talk to them and find out there'll be certain patterns or things that I'm observing, and then I'll ask questions to have them deepen learning on those various topics. So then I would say, as far as just like a take home tip for someone who's wanting to improve their
Yeah.
productivity, get a little more energy and time in their day,
Yeah.
uh, start by answering at the end of the day. Make a list. You could take that list of to-dos that you've been working off of, but maybe write down a list of things that you accomplished. It's kind of like the un-to-do list or something like that.
Yeah.
And so you're really creating this positive reinforcement about the things that you did do. Remember, I talked to you about that client that, even though she maybe knocked off 12 or 15 really
Yeah.
important items, she still had 159 things that
Awesome.
she didn't do, and that was where her energy and her focus went.
Awesome.
So let's focus on the positive. And then secondly, there's a really well-known study done by Martin Seligman, who's pretty much the father of positive psychology. I don't know if you're familiar with Marty. And it's the three good things activity. So he conducted a study where he's looking at 4 different positivity interventions, and this was the best of the 4 and had the longest effect. So it's very simple. You ask yourself at the end of the day, what 3 things went well, or what three good things happened today.
Yeah.
And then, so you write those down, but then the real value is in by answering why. Why did those things happen?
Yeah.
And it might be because it's something you did, or maybe, I just feel really blessed today, or I'm whatever the reason is. The point is to reflect on the positive. And he got people to do this for 1 week, and it turns out that even months later, 3 or I think up to maybe 6 months later, there was still an increase in positive affect that they measured. So that's pretty significant. And partly why it's so significant is because they asked them to do it for a week, but people ended up doing it for longer because it just felt good.
Yeah, right. Totally.
So keep going, why
Nice.
stop? So yeah, that's a really simple tip I think that anybody can do.
Oh man, that's great. That's a fantastic. Keeping on the positive, and then what three things?
Yeah.
Oh,
What
right.
the three good things? What three
Three
good
good
things
things.
today? Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Cool. And I'll throw one in, just going back to the list. Check marks are always good. Something about check marks. Checking things off. If you have to do the to-do list, and that's not the only way, certainly. But the check marks and then rewarding yourself with little things that you want to do, is a great tip in there too. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. There's
yeah,
research out of Harvard that suggests that people are the one thing that they want to see is progress.
yeah,
So, however you can measure progress, you want to see progress
yeah,
every day.
yes,
And I think you probably as a coach, I know me as a coach, my part of my job is to remind my clients of that. Hey, man, it doesn't feel like you're making progress, but look at where we were 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago,
yeah.
right? Being able to reflect on that is
Oh
really,
yeah.
really valuable.
Oh, so important, so important. That's why I think that we keep on talking about measuring sticks, right? That's come up
Hmm.
in our conversation 2 or 3 times. So for you in the audience, how do you measure life? How do you measure where you're at in life? I think there's a number of different ways that you can measure where you're at in your life. Um, if you haven't played it yet in the audience, I have a game called Abundance Life Wheel, abundancelifewheel.com, that helps you measure where you're at as far as abundance. But one other way that I think is really helpful to measure yourself is really by doing just like what we're talking about, is to continue accessing the well that's within you by just bringing up the positives, by bringing up, just like what went well today, and talking about that, because you'll be able to like say, okay, you know if I wrote down 3 months ago what went well, or what wasn't going well, and then we actually just look back, even as a self thing, there's something to celebrate in that. And then I want to offer one more tip to the audience. Have you ever done this, Stephan? I'll preface it like this. Have you ever specifically had like a major target, and when you accomplished that target, you were gonna like do something crazy to celebrate it, or just something awesome to celebrate that you really want to do?
Yeah, I think one of the most significant accomplishments that I have under my belt was that I completed the Knee-Knacker, and it's a 30-mile running race. It goes up and over 3 local mountains in Vancouver,
Woo!
and yeah, it's pretty epic. It took me. It's the equivalent of about two and a bit marathons
Awesome.
as far as times go. I think the record time is 4:45, and I'm in the like 7 to 8 hour range. Um, so I picked that up one year, and I've done it 5 times now. But the first time I did it was obviously the most epic because I had gone from zero to that, and truly I was not a long distance runner. I hadn't done a lot of running at all. I'd ridden a lot of bike, so I'd done a lot of road riding, but nothing on my feet, my 2 feet running. But I had a buddy who had done it a number of years, and I was just inspired. I'm like, man, that is awesome. That's like what you do is crazy. And he said, well, why don't you do it? And I thought about it, and I signed up, and and so
Beauty.
I started training, and I started training in early March, and the race was in mid July. And but it was all about. I think your question was, what was the question?
The
Sorry.
celebration at the end.
Yeah,
If you
the
ever just like,
celebration.
here you are, and then you had something specific you were going to celebrate with when you accomplished it.
Yeah, I think the celebration there was just getting across the line. That was
Yeah.
celebration enough, and I knew there was a banquet afterward, and the banquet was huge, man. Just walking across the stage and getting a little piece of paper that said, "Hey, congratulations," and so that was really, it was a piece of paper that said, "Hey, you did this," but in my mind, it was so much greater than just
Oh,
that,
yeah.
right?
Awesome. So cool. I'm going to be doing the Tough Mudder this year. Have you heard of them?
Hey, congratulations! I did it in September.
Oh, did you? Awesome. I'm going to do the one here in Aussie.
Oh,
So,
cool.
oh yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I have friends that have done it. It's apparently absolutely ridiculous. So it
Yeah,
sounds like
it's
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 going to be a
pretty rigorous.
blast.
Yeah, it was fun. I did it with a few buddies of mine, and thankfully there was one gal that was on our team because you do it as a team, right?
Yeah.
There was one gal who was she was a little bit slower than everybody else, but I was pretty thankful for it because I can't say I was particularly well trained. I wasn't at my peak performance, that's for sure.
Awesome. So cool.
Yeah,
So cool.
yeah. Good luck with that one, Scott.
So reflecting back just on celebrations, and we're almost done our episode here, but one thing that I celebrated that I can specifically give you an example in the audience for is when I went through all the time and process to become a certified coach. I actually went through the International Coach Academy, and they have one of the longest programs. They have a 2-year program. So nearing the completion, I said, okay, well, I'm going to do a celebration. And for me, at that time, financially and time wise, we just had a baby. It just wasn't, good timing when I was graduating. And also, to boot, the last 3 months before I graduated, I was just hammering at the books and the time and coaching. And my wife was, of course, just like taking the brunt of it family wise as I was pursuing this graduation. Anyway, our challenge was to say, okay, we're going to forget about all of the other things that just would prevent us from it, and we're going to celebrate by driving to this far off place. You probably know where Moose Jaw is because you know Saskatchewan. We went
Yep.
to the mineral spas in Moose Jaw, and we spent like the whole weekend there, and we planned the whole weekend to do that and do some excursions and stuff like that. And for me, actually, it was great too. The best part about that was that I intentionally went there and I took some time in the spa and just during the whole weekend to reflect back on the journey that it took for me to get from where I, was unsure about becoming a coach and to where I am now as a graduate of a coaching program to become an actual coach. So anyway, that's something I'm saying that to reflect back to you in the audience. There is sometimes when you do that celebration, it's not about just the reward; it's about reflection and the journey as well. And that
Yeah,
I find
absolutely.
energy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cool, cool. So I always ask my guests one question, and here it is: what are you looking for in life, Stefan?
I'm looking for joy and peace.
Yeah,
I just want to be happy with every day that I live. I'm a pretty big family man, so I want to support and provide for my kids, for my wife, and be with them as much as possible, and just be happy. And
right on. That's
yeah,
awesome. That's great. So, what would
yeah.
you say your biggest driving force in life is?
I think my biggest driving force is sort of two things, I suppose. Number one is I'm really driven to do creative things, new creative things, and I'm also really driven to encourage other people to take action and improve their lives. Obviously, that's why I'm a coach, right?
Yeah,
But it comes out in my coaching, but it also comes out, and you mentioned earlier that I'm the editor of the Unself Help blog. So,
yeah,
as part of Numi, we have a blog, and it's basically a personal development blog. We call it the Unself Help because um, it's kind of an oxymoron, this self help, right?
yeah,
so we so we want people to be able to help each other, and and we want to foster that in other people. So
yeah,
we're constantly doing creating initiatives that are kind of related to our blog that get people to perform and do activities that are in a fun way. So just to give you an example, for the last 2 years, we've run what we call the Acts of Kindness Advent Calendar. So it's this online Advent calendar, and for 25 days, we send you an email that says, here, do this kind thing. And we've got a nice online interactive, it looks like an advent calendar, right? You open up the little window and
Cool.
inside is today's kind act, as opposed to getting a chocolate or a little gift. So we've
Cool.
taken that concept and kind of flipped it on its head. And it's amazing. We get thousands of people subscribing leading up to the days before December 1st. And they just get so excited about doing these little kinds of acts of kindness every day.
That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
cool, man. That's
Yeah.
so cool. So, Stefan, how can people find out more about you? And yeah, just tell us just anything else that you want to share at this time.
Sure. Well, you can find me on Noomi.com. It's spelled NOOMII.com. And it's a great place. If you're looking for a coach, we'll match you up. We have a really great personalized service. If you don't find someone on the directory straight up, you can find Scott on there. And my personal coaching website is called crazyaccountability.com. So crazyaccountability.com, one word, no spaces. And today I'd like to extend an offer to your guests, if you don't mind, Scott. Is
Yeah,
that
go
cool?
for it, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So I offer month-to-month coaching, and my clients can stay as long as they want or as little as long as they're getting value. And so I'm willing to offer today to your listeners 50% off the first month of coaching with me.
Awesome. So cool.
Yeah. So the way they can find out about that is I have a page on my website. Go to crazyaccountability.com/Scott Epp. So that's Scott, SCOTT, Epp, EPP. And there's a page on there, and you can learn about more about this offer.
All right. Awesome. Cool. So crazyaccountability.com/Scott App. All
Yep.
right. Fantastic. Stefan, it's been just such a this is I feel like this has been a great use of my time, and I feel
I
way
sure
more
hope so.
energetic at the end of this. And
Yep.
yeah, so and I'm sure you too, just watching this episode, that you feel like there's been an abundance for you of energy that you've experienced, and I can almost guarantee you that you'll want to watch this episode again. So thank you again, Stefan, for being on our show here.
You're welcome, Scott. Thanks for having me. It's
All
been
right,
really fun.
cool. And for you, Abundance Coaching TV is life coaching TV that makes a difference. And thank you so much for watching us. Take care. Until we chat again, live with passion and have abundance in life.